Hi, guys. Welcome back to Latest with Lily, my show where I talk about all things sports, but especially football, baseball, and hockey because let's face it, those are the best ones. I start off by talking a little bit, then I bring on my very special guest, talk a little bit more, and end with everyone's favorite segment, Last Minute with Lily, where I list as many fun sports tidbits of the week as I can in just 60 seconds. It is super fun, so you should definitely stick around and watch. All right, let's get right to it. I am starting off this show by talking about Damar Hamlin because there's nothing else going on in sports right now that even compares in importance to his situation. Hamlin is a 24-year-old cornerback for the Buffalo Bills and a Pitt University graduate. He was drafted by Buffalo in 2021 and has since performed quite well for the team. Yesterday night, in Buffalo's highly anticipated Monday Night Football game against the Cincinnati Bengals, Hamlin went into cardiac arrest on the field after making a tackle. He was administered CPR on the field for nearly 10 minutes, where he needed to be intubated after being transferred to UC Hospital because he was not breathing on his own, but he did have a pulse. Hamlin is currently in critical condition. The league postponed the game after Hamlin was transported to the hospital, but today it was announced that the game will be canceled altogether. Watching that on television was a terrifying and emotional experience, and I just cannot begin to imagine the feelings of the players watching that happen to their teammate right in front of them. And of course, the feelings of Hamlin's family. It's truly unimaginable. It is such an awful situation, and all we can do is hope and pray as much as possible that Damar Hamlin gets better. So, scary stuff. Very sad situation. And I'm sorry to bring on our guest on such a somber note, but I really do want to talk to Marcus about this. So, Marcus, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Sorry again, it has to be on such a sad note, but how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well, Lily. Thanks for having me on the show for the second time. I'm really excited to be here again. I had a great time the last time I did this, so I'm excited.
I'm so glad you're here, Marcus. You were great last time, and I'm sure you'll be great again.
Thanks,
All right.
Lily.
So, getting back into the Damar Hamlin situation, Marcus, I know this is just such a terrible thing that has happened to him, but the NFL is a violent league. We don't know right now if the cardiac arrest has anything to do with Hamlin's hit itself, but we do know that football is a terribly physical game, especially when played at the highest level. Marcus, do you think that what happened last night will prompt the NFL to make any changes regarding the physicality of the game? And do you think they should?
I mean, I don't know if I'd say directly that this incident would, but I think this year as a whole has really been kind of difficult for like just crazy injuries. I mean, Tua has been on three separate times, even maybe concussed. And I think that also is definitely going to prompt it. But I think there's definitely going to be some changes made by the league because, again, we don't really know if it was directly related to the hit he took from T. Higgins. But I think there's a good chance that there was something to do with that at least because obviously it happened right after it. So I would think it'd be very unwise for the league to kind of just let things be because I believe he's in critical condition in the hospital, and you don't want to let it get to a point where this is happening again next year or even in the future. So I feel like the league is definitely going to make some changes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that although this incident is pretty insane and we haven't really seen anything like it, this is definitely not a super isolated thing this season. Tua's amount of concussions this year is pretty unprecedented, but it kind of speaks to the fact that, even though we have all this supposed protection with the padding and the helmets, it's not really doing anything, or
Yeah.
it is, but just not enough. And I think overall it's a really tough situation because the violence and the physicality are kind of cornerstones of this game, whether we like to admit it or not. I mean, like I said, you can beef up the helmets, you can do whatever you want, but guys like Tua, he followed the protocols, at least for the third concussion, and it still happens. So it's pretty unfortunate that physicality is just so ingrained within football and that if you strip it of that, I don't think there's much of the game left.
Yeah.
So it's truly a tough situation. But we can't have these young men going out there and, getting CTE, getting gruesome injuries and just, being detrimental to their whole lives. But it's really hard to strike a balance between preserving the game and obviously the more important thing, which is protecting the safety of the players. But I do think that something really tangible that the NFL could be doing is like beefing up the protocols themselves, because I think there needs to be more limits on, like a set number of how many concussions and of what severity you can withstand during one season before you have to sit out the rest of the year. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable like threshold that they should set. And just more general health checkups. I mean, I know they have them, but you hate to see something like this happen to Damar Hamlin and wonder, could there have been more checkups, more frequent checkups? And it's just a terrible situation. And I really am interested to see if this does prompt major NFL changes, this event, the season in general. But right now, the main concern lies with Damar Hamlin and what's happening with him. And I think everyone knows that. I think everyone knows that Hamlin is the main priority, or at least I thought that until I saw Skip Bayless's tweet last night. I'm sure you saw that, Marcus, but Skip Bayless of Skip and Shannon, he's an analyst. He said, no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game. But how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. End quote. I was shocked when I saw that he posted that. And I actually had to double check to make sure it wasn't edited because I saw it somewhere else. But nope, he really did say that. I just don't understand how someone can be so insensitive. It seems like everyone else on social media and everyone else on the broadcast yesterday realized that football is just a game and is so minuscule in comparison to someone's life. And it made me sick to my stomach to read that from Skip, who I was actually a fan of before this. So, Marcus, I want to know your thoughts on this. I mean, are you in agreement with me that Skip shouldn't have said this, or do you see a different side of it? I don't know if you can, but let me know your thoughts.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, I feel like it's weird because he qualified at the end, was saying that it seemed unimportant at that point, but it makes you wonder why he would even go and tweet that anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, player safety is much more important than a regular season game, no matter how high the stakes are for playoff seeding and whatnot. But I mean, it just really makes you wonder because, I mean, and there's this side of it where Skip Bayless is really, his main job is to get attention, and he does that very well. I mean, if you look outside of football for the NBA, he tweets literally every day just hating on LeBron for no reason. Like, it gets pretty crazy how far he'll go. Like, I remember on LeBron's birthday, he tweeted happy birthday to the GOAT and then ... and then like in 63 days or something for whenever Michael Jordan's birthday was. It's just elite level hating. And again, his whole thing is that he's just trying to get engagement and views for his show. And he usually does a good job of it. And usually it's pretty tasteful. It's really just hating on kind of in-game aspects of people, especially LeBron James. But usually it doesn't get too personal and it's within the lines of the game. But I feel like this was just completely uncalled for. I mean, to really just be as, it seems, just ignorant of what's going on, it's pretty unacceptable from someone who has as large a platform as him. And I'm glad there's been as much backlash as there has against him because he's really well deserved. But again, it's just kind of crazy for someone's first thought there to be that playoff implications.
Yeah, Marcus, I think you said it super well with calling it ignorant. That's exactly what it is, because it's such a shocking thing to say. And it's really disturbing to hear this from someone as prominent as Skip. This isn't someone just like, here and there reports every once in a while. This is someone who has a super major platform. And I really do respect his partner, Shannon on the show for not coming, Shannon Sharpe for not coming to the show today as a sign of protest because he was mad at Skip. I think that really shows guts. And it shows clearly where Shannon lies on the issue. But yeah, like I said, I was a fan of Skip Bayless before this. I think that his attention-grabbing tactics were, it compelled me to want to watch his show. It's an exciting thing. He has wild takes for the sake of having wild takes, but that's okay. I mean, that's how sports broadcasting and sports reporting goes sometimes. But this just seemed like an issue that was so obviously outside of the realm of, I don't want to say joking, but just like outside the realm of anything other than, thoughts and prayers for Hamlin. I feel like it was so blatant and obvious that, again, it was shocking. It was shocking for something like this to happen. But I do think that this backlash hopefully has taught him a lesson, and I do hope that he can rebound from this in a way that shows true growth and development within his personal character. But yeah, just crazy stuff. But it's going to be really rough to transition from such a heavy topic like that, because like I said, it's just a topic of so much importance right now. But as I said, all we can do is keep Damar Hamlin in our prayers, in our thoughts, and hope that he gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so sad, especially at 24, Damar Hamlin. It's just a terrible thing. You never want to see that, but especially from a guy so young, it's terrible. But let's try to move on with the show. Let's talk more football and see if we can get through it. All right. Let's try to move on to the Jets. New York football, very relevant thing right now. The Jets were officially eliminated last week in their game against the Seattle Seahawks, in a game that honestly was not even close. It was kind of pathetic. Marcus, the Jets were once 7-3. What or who do you think is responsible for their collapse?
Well, I think a lot of people will blame Zach Wilson, and he certainly deserves some of the blame. He played, when he did play, he was pretty awful. I mean, he was getting benched for like third stringers and just completely just putting up goose eggs out there. But I feel like it's kind of unfair to put it all on him, because you saw Mike White go out there 2 days ago, and he really didn't do much to move the ball against the Seahawks defense, which isn't very good. So I feel like there are a lot of people to blame, but honestly, I don't really look at this so much as blame, because this team is just not that good. They got hot to start the season. They were 7-3, like you said, but they really weren't that good a team. I mean, they don't have a legitimate quarterback. They have one really good wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, and then the rest are kind of question marks with, Elijah Moore and Braxton Berrios. So that's obviously the injury to Breece Hall really hurt their offense. But I mean, Zonovan Knight was pretty good, and same with Michael Carter. They were fine enough in replacement. But again, I feel like, the Jets are way ahead of schedule. I feel everyone thought they were going to be terrible again this year, but they had a really great draft. And I think it's really more of something they can just build on, going into the future. Obviously, they hit on their draft picks last year. If they can hit on their picks this year, maybe if they go with a quarterback, kind of since they won't have a super high pick, maybe one of the second-tier quarterbacks, like maybe an Anthony Richardson, or depending on how other teams feel about him, Will Levis, although he can always move up in the draft. So that one is kind of confusing. And I know a lot of Jets fans want to get Lamar Jackson, but I really don't think that's reasonable. Yeah. I think after seeing how poorly this Ravens offense has played with Tyler Huntley, I think there's no way they get rid of him. So again, I think they might also go with the route of free agency with like some guy like Jimmy G, or even, who knows, some guy with like Jacoby Brissett now, because he's going to be a free agent and he's not really needed on his team. But again, I just think it's not really, like, I wouldn't really blame anyone for this. I think Robert Saleh is a good coach. I think their team has really played up to, they've surpassed expectations coming into the season. But I think their luck kind of just ran out. They had a couple more easy games early in the season. They just ran into a tough stretch, and they weren't really prepared for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Maybe it's not so much of a who to blame thing and more of just like a luck thing. And, they did surpass expectations. You're exactly right. You're also so spot on about the Lamar thing. I think, Lamar being out and Tyler Huntley playing and the Steelers beating them on Sunday Night Football just really shows that they need to pay Lamar. Lamar's going to stay there. So Jets fans, please don't be delusional. You're not getting Lamar Jackson. But yeah, I think I'm maybe a little higher on the Jets on a talent position than you are. I do see your point about how they're kind of lacking in some departments where they have like a really great player or a really great player or two, but just not a lot of depth in their talent, which I think is fair. But I do think they have enough talent where they should have been able to win at least some of their last 7 games in order to, eke out a playoff berth, but kind of like the Giants did. But I just think that the blame is so much on Zach Wilson, like so much. I have never been high on Zach Wilson, but I think I'm especially low on him right now. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. He has never seemed poised in the pocket, never seemed comfortable in the pocket. His accuracy has come into question so many times when he can't complete 6-yard lateral passes, regularly. And the biggest thing for me on Wilson, maybe I'm too much on player character, but he has proven time and time again that he cannot be accountable when he performs poorly. I mean, if you're going to perform poorly, at least own up to it. And he showed during that Patriots game when the offense was just very lackluster and the defense came up with, some stellar plays, they still lost, that he couldn't take any blame for him obviously being one of the main catalysts for that loss. And that just really never sat right with me. One of the major reasons for him being benched alongside his terrible play. But, on a football team, you want your offensive linemen, your defensive guys, everyone in the middle to want to play their hearts out for their team, yes, but also for their quarterback. I mean, he's the leader of men. I wouldn't blame anyone on the Jets for not wanting to do that at this point with Wilson. And like you said, in the offseason, I think they can either go drafting with Will Levis, but like you said, that really highly depends on how other teams feel about him, because the Jets did win enough games where they're not going to have a super high draft pick, and they might not want to spend a first round draft pick on quarterback, because look how that pinned out last time. But I think they might go a free agent route. I'm thinking like potentially we could see something with Jimmy Garoppolo, but Derek Carr would obviously be one of the main goals, because he would be a step up from Jimmy G. But even Jimmy G is a major step up from Zach Wilson, at least in my opinion. I might be a little higher on Jimmy G than other people, but yeah, I think I blame Wilson. I blame Zach Wilson. Yeah. So, but let's shift gears a bit, because I feel like it's just been such a negative show. But obviously, it's something that we really need to talk about with Hamlin. But the Jets, sorry guys, but there is winning football in New York with Big Blue. Woo! Giants have made the playoffs. Woo!
Very exciting.
Marcus, I'm so glad to have you on here. First show after Giants clinching a playoff berth, because you are a Giants fan, which is fantastic. Yes. Made the playoffs for the first time in 6 seasons, I'm pretty sure, which is great.
16.
Awesome. All right. Rookie coach Brian Daboll has been fantastic. Danny Dimes has been much less mistake prone, and Saquon has been stellar. Marcus, I know as a Giants fan, you must be thrilled about this. So I want to know, how far do you see your G-men going this year in the playoffs?
Well, I think that really depends on who they end up actually playing, because I think they have a chance to either play the Niners or the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I think it's still up to the last week to see who they actually end up playing. And I think they actually have a chance of winning if they play the Vikings. I think if they play the Niners, even with Brock Purdy, a pretty inexperienced quarterback, I mean, a rookie, but he's been playing great. I think that defense is just too scary, and Daniel Jones is not going to be able to handle the pressure that they're going to be able to get on him. And I just think that game is not going to go well. I think they could hang competitive for a while, but I just don't think they'll be able to score any points. And Kyle Shanahan will be able to scheme up enough that they'll score at least, I'd say, 14, 21 points. And I just don't see the Giants doing that against a pretty incredible Niners defense. Although, to be fair, Jarrett Stidham did just light them up. But, I mean,
good point.
I think that was kind of just blind luck. And they still end up winning.
Yeah.
But if they play the Vikings, I really think they can win that game. So just to go back, they did almost beat the Vikings the last time they played them. I believe that they kicked a 61-yard field goal as time expired to sneak out that victory. But again, it was a really close game, competitive. Daniel Jones led a drive with, I think, under 4 minutes to go to end up scoring a touchdown for them and getting a 2-point conversion to tie the game. That was huge. I just think Daniel Jones really – and this is really going to show what type of quarterback he is. And I think if he plays a team like the Vikings, he really can show that he's their franchise guy, because, again, he had a lot of criticism coming into the year. And
continue.
But anyway, I just think that if he plays against a team like the Vikings, he's really going to cement himself as the quarterback here. He's going to be able to move the ball against this defense with his legs, with his arm. I know he really doesn't have a ton of receiving talent, but Isaiah Hodgins has looked great. Richie James has looked good enough. And obviously when you have a guy in the backfield like Saquon Barkley, he can really make plays for you. And on the defensive side of the ball, I really think they can give trouble to the Minnesota Vikings.
For sure.
If you think about it, the Vikings really are a super dependent team on Justin Jefferson. And you saw when last week, or this actually past weekend, he had to go up against an elite corner like Jair Alexander. He was completely shut down, and the Vikings offense was completely shut down as well. And I'm not saying that the Giants have a corner on Jair Alexander's level, because he's incredible. He's a top at least 5 corner in the league.
If not higher, yeah.
If not higher, yeah, for sure. I just think that, they have Adoree Jackson, they have Xavier McKinney in their secondary. I don't think they can lock down Jefferson, but I think that they can at least hold him. And plus with a pass rush of Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, who's really broken out, especially in the past couple of weeks, doing snow angels next to Nick Foles, who looked like he was dead.
Oh.
Side note, that was that was really strange because he said he didn't know he was injured, but then on the sideline he had the night celebration. So
Yeah,
that was just I don't know Kayvon, but he's just been a beast. He's
for
beating
sure.
guys off the edge, and the Vikings pass blocking is just not nearly good enough to hold up against again Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau. I think that 1-2 punch from the tackle position and the edge is just going to be enough to get pressure on Kirk Cousins, who we've seen really can't handle pressure both in game and just any primetime game, which it will be if it's a playoff game. That will for sure be a primetime game. So I really think that they could win that game. And then who knows what would happen if they actually could end up making it to the second round. If they run into a team like the Eagles, I mean, if Jalen Hurts is still out, they're always vulnerable, but I really don't think they could beat them with Hurts. If they ran into a team like the Cowboys or the Bucks in the second round, I don't know if they could win. They could definitely beat the Bucks, who have struggled a lot this year, but the Cowboys have just looked really good, save for a couple like falters in the past couple weeks, like when they lost to the Jaguars. But I really just think that a win in one playoff game would be really great for the city and the team as a whole going into next year. So I think they could win a playoff game for sure.
Okay, I mean, I want to agree with you really badly. I do, because I want to see New York football, be super successful, and we're not getting that from the Jets. And I want to have faith in the Giants. And you do make some compelling arguments for the Vikings game. I think completely if it's San Francisco, you don't really have a shot, just for all the reasons you listed. But if it's the Vikings, I just don't know if I buy it, because I think that everything is just a little too new for the Giants. I mean, Brian Dable has been great. He has been great. He is a rookie coach, though, and out of principle, I don't trust rookie coaches because they just don't have the needed experience for playoffs, which is so important. But you look on the other side of it, I mean, I'm pretty sure Kevin O'Connell, this is his first year as well, right? If I'm not mistaken, for the Vikings.
Yes, that's his
But
first.
yeah. So again, I mean, another rookie coach with lacking experience. It's kind of like which the lesser of two evils. Which one are you gonna pick? But I think that everything on the Giants, like I said, is just a bit too new on both sides of the ball. There's just a lot of rookies that they're relying on, which is never good for playoffs. Daniel Jones has looked a lot better, but he's not a superstar, and I don't even think he's a star. And it's such a quarterback-driven league. I don't see that X factor within the team, except for Saquon Barkley. But Saquon Barkley is a running back; he can't do everything. And I think a first-round exit is what's likely going to happen. But I think that's a win in and of itself. If they keep it competitive no matter who they play, just making it to the playoffs and playing a competitive playoff game is a win in and of itself. If you think about where they were last year, and just one off season of more development, more experience, and I think you're in a perfect position to do well next season. Now, would I be shocked beyond belief if they beat the Vikings if they played them? No, I wouldn't. It's reasonable to think that they have a shot, but I also would not be surprised if they lost. I just hope they keep it close, and I think that they will. But yeah. All right, but I'm rooting for you, Marcus. I am. Trust me. Trust. Hopefully the Steelers will be there so you can root for me too. All right.
Maybe. We'll see. They have a chance.
We'll see. But I know, guys, Marcus over here is the biggest Kenny Pickett fan, right?
No, absolutely not. I have to give him credit. He did lead that game-winning drive, and that was very impressive. He made some really nice throws, especially that one to Najee and the one to Freiermuth. Those were two great throws. But I love Mitch. I love Mitchell Trubisky, and I'm just sad to see him get benched.
I still can't believe you're on this train right now, the Mitch Trubisky train. It's craziness.
Maybe the Jets should try to make a move for him in the offseason. He could really turn this franchise around.
You know what? I agree. Step above Zach Wilson for sure. Mitch Trubisky forever. I'm glad I didn't buy his jersey, though. Got my Pickett jersey. Nice. All right, Marcus, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you had to rush after basketball practice. You definitely didn't forget that you were supposed to be on the show. So.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. I'm so glad you made it, though. And thank you so much for being here. I hope you can be on again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lily.
Right. Bye, Marcus.
Bye.
Technical difficulties there. Marcus will be the new host, guys. But yes, thank you so much to Marcus, as always. He's always great. We love Marcus. Surprised he didn't win the best guest competition, but, I guess the people spoke. All right. It's time for everyone's favorite segment. You made it this far. It's time for Last Minute with Lily. I'm going to get my timer ready and start it now. The Carolina Panthers are in discussions with Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh about possibly becoming the next Carolina head coach. But I'm telling you, the last thing we need in this league is another Harbaugh. So I hope that Jim is driving a hard bargain. You get it? Like a hard bargain, like Harbaugh. NCAA basketball is reviewing a plan to expand March Madness from 68 to up to 90 teams. Because it already wasn't hard enough to create a perfect bracket, let's just make it a little harder. The Cleveland Cavaliers were issued PED tests just a day after Donovan Mitchell dropped 71 points against the Bulls. Yeah, totally a coincidence. The Pittsburgh Penguins lost to the Boston Bruins 2-1 in the Winter Classic. So I guess the only real kid is Ted Williams. Sorry, Sydney. You're always Sid the kid to me, though. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so glad you joined us today. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you tune in next week. Bye, guys.